Okay, hello there, thrill seekers. When I was in France last week, I got a question from the audience that had to do with what to do when things aren't going your way, when life is kind of giving you stuff you don't want to do, and when it seems like whatever you're doing is just the exact opposite of what you want to be doing and what you feel committed to doing. Okay, some question along those lines. And I was in France. And the best example I could come up with was an answer that really is hard to tell to an audience in France or an audience anywhere outside of Northeast Ohio. So I'm going to try to tell it now, but this time I got visuals. I spent a bunch of time last night and this morning searching out visuals for you, so I think it'll be easier to tell the story this way. So, in order to understand this story, you first got to know who Ghoulardi was, okay? Now, if you're from Northeast Ohio, you can just fast forward because you already know who Ghoulardi was, but this is for the folks who have no idea. Okay, so Ghoulardi was this character played by a guy named Ernie Anderson.
Ernie Anderson here. We'd like tonight to interview probably one of the most outstanding personalities in the Cleveland area and maybe of our time, Ghoulardi. Oh. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of laughs.
So he was a horror host. Sorry, it sounds like I said a bad word there. A horror host was something that was popular on television in those days and remains sort of a fixture on certain television stations even to this day, although it's a lot less popular. And that's what when they would show movies late at night. So back in them days, there wasn't Jimmy Kimmel and all these other people on late night TV making, David Letterman and all these people making late night TV a thing. This is when late night TV was just the graveyard stuff, and they'd just throw anything on. So on weekends, they'd often show horror and science fiction movies like The Brain That Wouldn't Die, or Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women, or First Spaceship on Venus, or Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, or whatever. They'd show these old horror movies, and in order to spice things up, they'd get a guy, usually somebody who worked at the station, to dress up in a funny costume, usually like a mad scientist or a Dracula character or something like that. And these guys would go on, and during the commercial breaks, they'd kind of introduce the movie, and they'd say, "Hey kids, you're going to be really scared tonight at this movie. It's the scary movie." And that's what Ernie Anderson was hired to do. But Ernie Anderson got bored with that format very quickly, and he started to make it something of his own. He would say, "Oh, these movies are terrible. You should just go to bed."
Catch that one, baby. Dear Mr. Ghoulardi, like so many Clevelanders, we enjoy Channel 8's science fiction movies. Can you believe there's somebody that enjoys these movies?
And he'd make fun of local TV celebrities, and he'd go play baseball games. They'd do these exhibition baseball games at high schools and stuff.
Roll the film, Julio. Who used to say that? Yeah, we out to the ball game.
Became extremely popular.
Ghoulardi plays nothing but poker. See, what you do in poker, you get a girl, and you poke her.
So the Ghoulardi thing exploded, but only in this little tiny region of the world, only in Northeast Ohio. Not even all of Ohio, just around Cleveland and Akron area where I grew up. Now, I know Ghoulardi mainly from The Ghoul, that's a t-shirt I'm wearing, who was sort of his successor. He was a guy who worked for Ghoulardi and later on kind of took over the role of Ghoulardi, but he had to call it The Ghoul for copyright reasons or whatever. Now, the thing is, I was 2 years old the last time that the Ghoulardi show was on the air. So he ran from 1963 to 1966. But even I know who Ghoulardi was, and people who weren't even born in the 60s know who Ghoulardi was in Northeast Ohio. It's even to this day a huge thing. Like there's this book about it, and there's some videos. There's a YouTube, I think 11 minutes or something, less than 20 minutes of video survives of the Ghoulardi show. But it's on YouTube now. Okay, so he quit Ghoulardi in 1966, Ernie Anderson did, because he was just kind of sick of the whole thing. And he moved out to Hollywood, and he became a booth announcer, and pretty quickly he became the most popular and sought-after voiceover talent in the country. So he did all kinds of voiceovers.
This is Ernie Anderson. Take one.
Every woman's hair has individual conditioning needs. Normal hair needs a little, damaged hair needs more. So Alberto created Light and Fresh Balsam.
And doing this voiceover stuff earned him a load of money. He was being paid over $1 million a year and working constantly, working from early in the morning to late at night every day doing everything. So his voice was everywhere. So from the, let's say the late 1960s until maybe the mid 1990s, his was the main voice you heard on anything like a movie trailer or a commercial or all sorts of things. There's even phrases that pop up even now that are that are Ernie Anderson phrases that he said.
Wednesday.
I like that one.
From the world of assassins comes the deadliest of them all.
Where to, sir?
Alias the Fall Guy.
And tonight, a gambling cruise for charity proves a chancy proposition on the Love Boat.
So the guy was incredibly successful. In the later part of his life, sometime maybe in the late 80s or something, a guy from Cleveland named Little John, who was another sort of successor of Ghoulardi, who also did a horror host show there with a guy named Big Chuck, he went out to Hollywood to interview Ernie Anderson, and he asked him this question.
Of all the accomplishments that you have done, is there any accomplishment left undone?
If I could get, like a little part that I could remember, and just do it, and just have it like be a wonderful little thing that I did, and it would be in a movie that would play in 21 BC, AD or whatever. I'd just like to have that. It'd be my little thing of immortality. I don't know if it'll ever come about, but anyway, I'd really like seriously to do a nice piece in a nice movie.
Now, when I first saw that interview, I was kind of amazed and stunned by it because it really hit home for me. Because, as you can hear, he says that what he really wants in life, his dream in life, is to have a little part in a movie that everyone would remember. And immediately when I saw that, I'm going, well, you did that. You did that. You succeeded in your dream, Ernie Anderson. Only it wasn't exactly the way you thought it would be. It wasn't a little part in a movie. It was Ghoulardi in Cleveland that everybody remembers and people are still talking about even in the 21st century. Like he said in the, 21 BC or whatever he makes that little fluff when he's giving the answer. But people are still talking about him in the 21st century, years after the show went off, the air 50-some years ago, and people are still talking about it. So he got exactly what he wanted, but the point is that he didn't recognize it as being exactly what he wanted. When I heard that, it just really boom, like Bing went off in my mind, and I went, how many times in my life have I gotten exactly what I wanted, but I didn't recognize it because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It didn't come in exactly precisely the form that I expected it to, so I kept looking for this very specific image that I'd made in my mind of the thing, rather than looking at the actual life as it was and going, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. In my own case, I can tell you, because I'm trying to relate this to you out there, dear viewer, but just to give you my own life story, I sort of always dreamed of being either a stand-up comedian, a writer of science fiction movies, or a member of a rock band who was, professional, rock and roll band. And I never achieved any of that, only I did achieve all of that. I write books about Zen Buddhism. They're not books about science fiction, but I write books for a living. I tour the world. I just went back, came back from touring Finland, Germany, and France. I said that. And I do this every year, and I go out and I tour just like a rock star, and I go on stage just like a stand-up comedian and make jokes. People like some of my jokes, and that's what I do, and it's exactly what I wanted to do. Probably when I was watching this video for the first time, it would have been in the late 80s, and I would have been despairing about my failed musical career. And probably what I thought of was, I did get to make 5 albums, and even though I didn't become super famous, a lot of people still know him. I met a guy in Germany this year whose best friend was super impressed that he was going to meet Brad Warner from Dementia 13. Isn't that amazing? There's still people who still remember that. And I got to do that, and I didn't really want fame, and I didn't really want the hassle of touring with a rock band. So I got exactly what I wanted, like precisely what I wanted, but I didn't recognize it because it didn't come in the form that I imagined it would. And I think this is probably true for a lot of people. I think a lot of people get exactly what they want in life and are frustrated because they don't realize that they got exactly what they wanted in life. This also goes for enlightenment. When Dogen says that Zazen itself is enlightenment, one of the things he means is you are enlightened and you've missed it. You have the enlightenment that you've been seeking, but you have missed it. And what we are trying to do with our practice, with Zazen practice, is one of the things we're trying to do, is learn to see the things that we have missed, which is our own enlightenment, our own already existent unity with the entire universe. It's not that we have to go somewhere and get unified with the universe. We are already one with the universe. We're one with everything, just like the Dalai Lama asked the pizza vendor to make him, or the hot dog vendor to make him. Anyway, that's another old joke. Look it up if you want. So that's the story. That's the Ernie Anderson story and Ghoulardi story that I tried to tell in France, and I told it in a very convoluted way, and I don't know if anybody got it, but if you were watching me in France, maybe you can watch this thing with all the visuals, and then you'll get it. I don't know. But there you go. That's my go-to story on that subject. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to support me making millions of dollars just like Ernie Anderson, no, I won't make millions of dollars. That's a lie. But if you want to support me with a donation so I can buy breakfast cereal and dog food, you can go to the URL you're seeing on the screen. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. hardcorezen.info/donate, and there you will find my Patreon and PayPal links, and that's my main way of making a living. That is really the number one source of income I have. The trip to Europe that I made, it made a tiny bit of money, but it's not going to support me for very long, not very long at all. As always, this is offered for free, so you don't have to donate if you don't want to. So don't bother writing in to complain that I asked you for donations, because I'm just giving you this for free, and you have an opportunity to donate if you want. Anyway, we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Laters. Bye. Hey, Ziggy, what do you think of Ghoulardi? Did you get what you wanted? Is being a dog what you wanted to be in this life? You're a cute dog. All right, Ziggy. We'll see you later.